and I did beat him. He had a tough day. I think I beat him by 15. I think he shot 85. I shot 70.
Wow.
I think it's the most anyone's ever beat him by playing with him, which is a nice trivia question.
He's got the record.
Fredette for the lead. Yes! Fredette with the three. Bullseye! What a shot by Fredette!
Crunch time. The boy gave us more trays than
He's got his J back, folks, and the eye of the tiger.
You're tuned in to Built from the Logo with Jimmer Fredette.
We are back and ready to rock. I am Spencer Linton. He is Jimmer Fredette, and this is Built from the Logo. Great to have you with us for our deep-range conversations about life inside and well beyond the world of sports. Jimmer, there's a new national champion in college basketball. It's Masters Week. How are you feeling about life in early April?
Oh, man. Great sports week. Unbelievable sports week. We've been saying it for the last month just with March Madness, but I do love to watch golf too. Like I do. Like there's some people that love to watch golf. There's some people that don't. I enjoy it on TV specifically because there's always action. They're always showing a shot. You know, some people don't think that, you know, there's a lot of action in golf, my wife included. But at the same time, I'm like, hey, they're showing shot to shot to shot. You know, they're not just showing people walk the course. So great week of golf. I'm excited to talk about the Masters a little bit and excited about our guest today.
Yeah, 100%. I live for this week. If you can't tell, got my Masters green, my Masters hat, the Masters flag in the background. I visited in 2022, and it's hard to explain until you've been. There's almost a reverence around the course that it just permeates through the grounds. And maybe the thing I loved the most, that was the most surprising, I loved everything about it, but they sell pimento and cheese sandwiches for like $1.50, and you can get a soda. It's always been the same price. You can eat a lunch for like $5 there. It's amazing, Jimmer.
I've heard amazing things about the food, that it's still continued to be cheap. It's great. No phones allowed as you're going on the course.
Crazy.
Which is awesome. You know, they want you to live in the moment. It's a beautiful place. And, everyone spends about $1 million at the gift shop. And that's how they make all their money. It's incredible. I love it.
Guilty as charged. Guilty as charged, Jimmer.
That's how it works for everybody.
I think by the time I got out there after the 3 days I spent there, we were about $1,300 less rich just from the gift shop. And that was minor. I was considered a minor expenditure.
You got off easy on that. You got off easy.
But no regrets, man. No regrets. Great stuff. Looking forward to a fantastic Masters week. Our purpose in this podcast is to uplift, educate, and entertain, often combining sport and faith through an array of topics. We tend to focus on impactful moments, experiences, and decisions that have shaped the lives of Jimmer, myself, and our MVP guests. Like last week's VIP, he's an NBA G Leaguer and sharpshooter, friend of Jimmer's, and bringer of AJ DeBonsa to BYU through a domino effect. Jack Golke was awesome, Jimmer.
Yeah, he was so fun. He's such a easy guy to talk to, right? He's really well spoken. He's still grinding. He's in the G League, obviously. I've been there, I understand it, but he's a shooter. He loves to play still, and that's the thing that I love about it. He still has the passion to go out there and get buckets, shoot threes, and loves accounting. And we talk about all of it. It was a lot of fun.
Can't forget that. He does love accounting.
He does.
And I'm serious when I say, I put it out on social media, I would absolutely trust that guy based on who he is, how sharp he is, how well-spoken he is. If I sent him my taxes, I'd be totally fine.
They'd be done. You get your K1s back correctly. That's for sure.
I love it. As always, we're building for something better and doing it together. We are set for the opening tip-off, and here is our starting lineup today. With this question, is recruiting easier than ever in major college sports? Which big-time coach who's in the news this week says that is the case, and do we agree? The greatest sporting events that both Jimmer and I have ever attended in light of Masters Week. We may or may not have already touched on that partially. Our featured guest is a PGA Tour veteran and once beat Tiger Woods by 15 strokes, not in a tournament, but in one 18-hole round. That is factual. Zac Blair joins the program and tells us how in the world that happened, plus how he's taking his golf game to the masses through elite course design, plus Jimmer's lack of homework prowess is called out by a former teammate in open gym. What's up with that, dude?
They know me well. That's all I had to say. They know me well. Anybody that knows me did not love homework. I will put it that way.
We're going to need to know what you got in that class when we read the specifics as far as a letter grade goes.
Okay.
And finally, our latest grammar pet peeve of the week. It's short and sweet, but something that drives me absolutely bonkers. It's the most simple fix ever, and you can help me live a happier life if you just eliminate it from your spoken language.
Oh, gosh. Please help,
Jimmer,
Spence.
let's take our shot with the early trade, driven by BMW of Utah and BMW of Pleasant Grove. 3 top-of-mind subjects to set the pace and get the conversation rolling into high gear. Speaking of, come hang out anytime you'd like at BMW of Utah dealerships. Drive some Beamers at the Pleasant Grove location. Learn like I learned that this is not a joke. It's way more affordable to get into a BMW than ever before. Just ask my neighbor across the street, Jimmer. I'm dead serious. His monthly minivan payment is almost double what I pay for my BMW.
I mean, those minivans are practical. I will say that, the sliding doors and everything, but I mean, double the payment. I mean, I don't know how
They're
practical
so
it is if you can go get a
expensive.
Beamer instead, right? Go check it out at BMW Pleasant Grove, man. Go out
go.
there and check it out.
Listen, we get the practicality of it. Jimmer and I are family guys. But if you can have a minivan and a Beamer, why not do it? All right.
Why not?
Bro, you ready to shoot?
Let's go.
Okay, final 4 is now down to 1. There is a national champion. It is the Michigan Wolverines. For the first time since 1989, when they were coached by the great Steve Fisher, it's now Dusty May as head coach and leading the Wolverines to a national championship. So first and foremost, congratulations, Jimmer. It took you 3 tries to get there, but you eventually called the national champion in the Michigan Wolverines.
I absolutely did. People will look back at this and see the clip when we put up, hey, Jimmer's, got Michigan going to the Final Four and got them winning. That's what people are going to remember. Okay. So that's all that matters. I got it right. Okay. I got it right eventually. I will say Michigan and Dusty May, those guys, they just were playing such good basketball, man. Like they're just huge. Like I told you before, they're huge, and they had a great game plan. They know who they were as a team, the identity. McKinney played great. I think that just all around, just very, very well done. And, congratulations to UConn. They put up a fight, man. They never go away. It's unbelievable. You feel like they're going to be, they get up by 10. If you think that there's going to be a couple of punches thrown and all of a sudden it's going to go to 15, 16 points, it doesn't happen. They get it back to 7 to 6. They got it to 4 with a chance to get it to 1 at the end. I mean, with Caravan shooting the shot, that's exactly what you want. Awesome game. Really fun to watch. I'm glad it was something that people wanted to tune into, and 2 blue bloods going at it. It was fun.
Yeah, and what was interesting is Yaxel Lendeborg, when asked what people will remember about this Michigan team, he said they might call us the mercenaries because they started 5 transfers. They started 5 transfers, but figured it out. They caught lightning in a bottle with the right mix of awesome. And they, from start to finish in large part, were easily the best basketball team at the collegiate level in America. It was awesome. I mean, they beat Gonzaga by 50 early in the season. They rolled teams.
Yeah.
I felt like the best team in America won the national championship.
I do too. I really do. When it's all said and done, and that Duke Michigan game and in Washington D.C. earlier in the season, I mean that was a phenomenal game. I felt like those 2 teams were kind of the 2 best teams all year, throwing punches, going blow to blow with each other, and they just absolutely took over in the tournament. I mean, they were winning games by 30 points in the tournament. You know what I mean? And against good programs. And, obviously the national championship game was close. So like I said, kudos to UConn, but the best team in the country won it this year. And that doesn't always happen, but this year it did.
It only took you 3 tries, bro. Third time's the charm.
Man.
Let's
Third
go.
time's the charm. A lot of things, it takes a lot of people 3 times to do stuff. Okay, like let's be honest. It's totally fine. Nothing wrong with that.
Well done, my friend. Okay, subtopic 1B, if you will. The Naismith Award was given to Duke's Cam Boozer. You own that trophy. It is behind your right shoulder. Love to see it every time we do one of these podcasts. Do you have any qualms with Cam Boozer being given the Naismith Award as the best college basketball player in men's hoops?
None at all. And I said that earlier in the season. Like we talked about it, and I felt like Cam Boozer was the guy that was leading the race pretty much all year. Averaged a double-double, a freshman. Absolutely just played big in big moments. Pretty much any time against some of the best teams in the country. Did not matter. He showed up every night. He was smart. He could pass
against
the
Michigan
ball.
and Washington, D.C., right? He was awesome.
100%. He was the guy, and he was like that all year. And it's a regular season award. You have to remember that. Like, it does not, tail off into the tournament. Like, it's supposed to be about the regular season. He was the best player in the regular season. He just was consistently, and they were the best team in the country for a lot of the year. And if they weren't the best, they were in the top 3, and they were playing great basketball. So I have no qualms with it. I think he deserves it. And, there were some other guys out there that were, in the mix. But overall, he had the most consistent season from start to finish, and it's really impressive to do as a freshman. Duke, back-to-back Naismith winners as freshmen with Cooper Flagg and Cameron Boozer.
Wild.
I mean, whoever's coming in as a freshman next year, that's a lot of weight to hold right there. That is unbelievable.
Where do you fall in the case of A.J. DiBonta? Because I know you've been outspoken about him being the guy that should be taken number 1 in the NBA draft with the highest overall upside based on his complete game, not just him being the most polished scorer, but his complete game. So you've tabbed him as the number 1 overall pick, not Cam Boozer, yet you're okay with Cam Boozer being the National Player of the Year. So how do you delineate between the two?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think the biggest thing is, it's like I said, it's that regular season award, and some of it has to do with your team performance as well. And I think AJ obviously played incredible. He averaged more points than Cam did, and he had
led the nation in scoring. Yeah.
Led the nation in scoring. He had some incredible games, set a lot of BYU records. I think the problem with what happened with the AJ for his case for National Player of the Year is that the team started to dip at the end of the year, right? And, whether it was his fault or not, that doesn't, it doesn't matter as much. It's more about, hey, the record, and all of a sudden they were losing. They fell out of the top 25 for a little bit. Like those types of things matter when they're talking about National Player of the Year, because generally speaking, they want that player to be on a team that's, in the top 10 or doing really well in playing some good basketball towards the end of the year. But like I said, Duke was consistently in that top 5, and they never came out of it just because they were so good, and Cam was so good all year. So I think that hurts his case, and that's, sometimes that happens. Do I think Cam is a better player than AJ? No, but again, not the best player not necessarily the best player, talent wise wins awards all the time. It's about team performance, their performance, how consistent they are, or else, a guy like Michael Jordan or LeBron James in the NBA would win it every year. That's not always the case. It's about the season and how it goes.
Sometimes you're Cooper Flagg and you are the best overall player, and you play on an elite team and you're drafted number 1.
100%.
All right, topic number 2. Portal season is wide open in college basketball. Though President Donald Trump has issued an executive order to try and limit the number of times a player can transfer. That's probably a topic for a future episode, and we'll get into the details of that. We're more so focused on the fact that the portal is open again, and it is open season, baby. We've talked about this a number of times.
Yes.
But if you could change only one thing, and maybe it is tied to the executive order, but if you're changing one thing about the transfer rules in the portal right now, what is that one thing that absolutely has changed as of early April 2026?
I think for me, the biggest thing that could help it is in the contracts that there are buyout clauses. That's what I think would be the best situation for teams that are trying to pick up players and teams that have players that are trying to leave. And the reason being is because I understand, the one transfer rule, right? That President Trump is trying to put in. And, I think a lot of people have said that before. That's not a unique thing. Like, people are like, hey, let's transfer once. Unless your coach leaves, then you get the transfer. I understand that. But I think it would limit a lot of the transfers if you did put in a clause that was, significant for a buyout. And if you did it that way, now at least the team that is losing the player would be able to recoup some of the investment that they put in. And then they can go out and use that money to be able to go out and get someone else. I think that that's going to help level the playing field. So when you're, negotiating a contract like you are as a professional, basically a professional player, you're going to have to understand what that buyout clause looks like and make sure if you don't want it to be super big, you got to negotiate. You got to figure that out. But I think if they understood how to do that and they had some type of buyout clause, that would limit the amount of transfers, or at least make them think about it before they got in and actually were like, all right, where should I go? They're not just open season. There's some, actual consequence, I guess you could say, to moving to another team. That would be the one thing that I would do.
Are you in favor of the player maybe paying back NIL monies if they didn't fulfill their contract, or is it just whatever new team comes in and wants them to play for them, they're responsible to that, then fill the measures or the numbers in the contract that are remaining?
Yeah, I would do it either way. I think that there definitely should be some payback from the player. Depending on what you want to put in the contract, you could say, hey, 50% of it's coming from you, 50% of it is coming from the new team, right? There's different ways I think you could put in the language to do it. But as long as that team is recouping some money or something from it to be able to go and get the next player, I think that that's important.
All right, great stuff, intriguing stuff. And I've always been in favor of, okay, you get one transfer with no penalty unless your head coach leaves the program. Then I think you are granted an exception. But outside of that, it feels like we're somewhat moving in the right direction, which is encouraging. I don't know when this goes into play, like when it's actually executed, but I feel like we're moving in the right direction.
Do you think that it is the question that you said? Do you think it's easier to recruit now?
Oh, man.
What are your thoughts on that? Because Dusty May talked about this, and I have a thought, but I want you to go first.
Yeah, so to your point, Michigan head coach Dusty May is talking about being able to sit in his living room and watch highlights on his computer at any point he wants to really assess the talent of a player worldwide. There's just so much video and film readily available with a few clicks.
Yep.
And these coaches and analysts have gotten so good at assessing a player's flow and how he moves in the game and his tendencies based on this film that it's more streamlined than ever. I do believe that there is something special about getting in front of a player and looking a young man in his eye as a head coach or as an assistant coach and a recruiter and promising him that he's going to be able to accomplish his dreams and that said program's going to take care of him. There's still some magic there, but I think you're able to weed things out faster naturally because of the progression of technology and the internet era and everything that is available to you almost immediately. It's almost overwhelming, Jimmer. If I were a coach, I would freak out because I'm like, I want to look at 1,000 dudes here, but I only have time to look at 100 guys in the next 2 weeks. So that to me is more of the issue is how do you get to everybody because there's so much film and material available. So I do think that it is easier and more convenient, but it's just becoming difficult in different ways. And that is because there's now more access than ever before.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I think so. I spoke with a coach, this weekend at the national championships, and he was like, I'm basically, instead of in a gym, I'm on Synergy for 3 to 4 hours a day, watching clips of players. And he's like, it gets old. And he's like, it's hard. You know what I mean? But at the same time, that's what we do. That's our job. And, you basically have to come as a program now. You have to have your big board. Right? You gotta write down the players and say, hey, this is who I like from the transfer portal. These are guys that I have my eye on. And you have your board and you're going through those, however many we want to put down, 50, 100 kids. And then you're watching them. They divvy them up and they're watching those clips of those kids. And it's all over the world. Like you said, it's not just here, but you have so much access. It is crazy because back when I was, playing, we didn't have social media in high school. And Coach Rose came to every one of my games in these little gyms all over the country just to let me know that he was interested in me to play, right? For me to be a part of his program. And the transfer portal wasn't as big of a thing. So they're going to high schools, they're going to AAU tournaments, doing all these things. They don't need to really do all of that anymore. They just don't. So because of it, you have a lot less travel. It's a lot more streamlined because you're just looking at kids that have a bunch of film at collegiate level, right? You're looking at all of these kids that have already played a lot of college games and you're assessing those kids more than not. And then you're going after maybe a few high school kids. And it's just really, I think it has streamlined the process a lot. I think he's right. As long as you have your processes in place the right way, I think it makes it not easier, different, but not as much travel. Let's put it that way. You're able to just do it within the bounds of your home, your office, with your coaches and figure it out and then go and see the kid when, you're super interested. So I agree with that.
And you're not spending a boatload of money to fly all over the country and world in some instances.
You don't have to. Not anymore. It's pretty crazy.
You can pick and choose. Okay, topic number 3. Quick hitter here at the end. In honor of the Masters this week, Jimmer, what's the greatest sporting event you've ever watched in person? You've played in some incredible events. March Madness, Sweet 16, the Olympics.
Yeah.
What's the greatest sporting event you've ever watched in person?
In person. Yeah, it's such a good question. I haven't watched a ton of sporting events in person. You know what I mean? Like I have never been to a Super Bowl. I've never been to a World Series. Any of these things, just because I've always been playing professionally. So because when it's off season, I just haven't been to a whole lot of things, outside of it. So it's a really great question. I think the best one that I have been to, was game 6. At Golden State, with the Raptors playing against them, and they won the championship. The Raptors won the championship on the home court of Steph Curry and Klay Thompson. That was when Klay Thompson got hurt, Kevin Durant, that whole thing. But Kawhi and the Raptors won it, and I was there and watched that game live. And that was really cool to experience a team win a championship on someone's home floor and have like the crowd be dead silent, but them be like crazy on the floor.
Yes.
So that was a really cool experience. That was probably one of my favorites.
Oh, next level. For me, the Masters as just an attendee, as a patron. They're called patrons in Augusta.
You are a patron.
Like walking the grounds. And the year I went, Tiger Woods was making a return after a lengthy delay away from the golf. So he returned to play in his first tournament, and it was the Masters. And he had an incredible Thursday round going. And so you'd hear what they call the Tiger roar. It just is different. It's different than any other gallery that watches another elite player. Like when the gallery watches Tiger and he does something incredible, it's a different cadence and volume. So to be involved in that was very cool.
That is really cool.
That was super fun to watch him make his return and to experience Augusta with Tiger there doing crazy things. If not that, underrated, probably the final of the BNP Paribas Open, which is the 4th biggest tennis tournament in the world. Watching guys like Djokovic and Nadal line it up against each other for a championship. So cool. Incredible. Interviewing Rafa Nadal at center court after the match, was wild, right? It's just wild stuff.
Really amazing.
And then totally off the radar, the championship game of the College Softball World Series between Oklahoma and Texas.
Go.
Watching Oklahoma's women's softball team win in Oklahoma City. I didn't know. I was like, that'd be cool. No. One, it was impossible for me to get in. I found a way in and then watched that, and I was like, Yo,
It's a rivalry right there. That's a rivalry
for a national championship, and those people care about that sport. So like that was,
that's cool.
In the words of our younger generation, low key fantastic, Jimmer.
Low key fantastic. Shout out to the U.S. Open too. I love the U.S. Open.
Yes.
Shout out to Taft's six-year-old championship basketball game this last season. It was hype in there. These guys were going nuts. It was fun.
I love that answer. That's the perfect way to end the early train from the logo, no less. Let's take our first break. When we come back, Zac Blair, PGA Tour veteran, guy who beat Tiger Woods by 15 strokes, joins us on From the Logo and takes on the Full Court Press, presented by Built.
It's like you're diving into brownie bliss with chocolatey gooey lava that erupts in a world of flavor. And it has 17 grams of protein. What the puff? Hit me. Oh!
Fluffy, chocolatey, and packed with protein. What the puff? Built Puff.
Welcome back to From the Logo with Jimmer Fredette, teamed up with Built. It is time for the Minky Couture Full Court Press with our VIP guest. A reminder, you can send your VIP the best blanket ever, just like we do for our guests at softminkyblankets.com. This guy probably felt like snuggling up to a blanket after he beat the likes of Tiger Woods by 15 strokes at the Memorial back in 2015. Not a tournament score, Jimmer, over 4 rounds in one 18-hole round. Wild. Wow. He has largely been on the PGA Tour and Korn Ferry Tour. He's designing world-class golf courses, specifically one called the Tree Farm in South Carolina. Played in 2 U.S. Opens, and he's a family man, Jimmer. Headed to Disneyland this week, Zac Blair takes on the Full Court Press. We had a chance to speak with him recently. Here is that conversation. Zac, great to connect with you on From the Logo. Welcome to the show, man. How you feeling today?
Yeah, good. Thanks for having me.
Congratulations are in store for a top 8 finish at the Puerto Rico Open a few weeks back, by the way. Nicely done.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it.
Now, interesting, as we watch, because Jimmer and I are obviously tied into BYU, but playing with your guys, Patrick Fishburne, and then a current BYU star in Kihei Akina. What's that like for you as a former BYU guy to connect with those dudes, but on the PGA Tour?
Yeah, I mean, me and Fish have played a lot together, and then, recently played with Kihei a little more, now that he's down at school. And I got to play with him out in Puerto Rico during the practice round, and we kind of played around each other basically all week. So, yeah, it's really cool kind of seeing him do what he's doing.
It's big time. And so before I get into too much golf, right, we're going to talk a lot of golf on this podcast, obviously, with Zac on. I'm not a big golfer. Okay. I'm just going to throw that out there right now. Like, I started late. We were just talking about this off air. I have a weird swing. Like, it's just not natural to me, all this stuff. So I have to ask a basketball question first. Like, that's just how it goes. Big game tonight, national champ. We're recording this on a Monday, right? And it's national championship. Okay, coming up. Who do you got winning? You got Michigan, you got UConn. I know you're a big fan, basketball, sports in general. Who do you got?
Man, haven't watched a whole lot of college basketball, especially with the Cougs getting bumped out early. But
yeah, I know.
I don't know. I mean, hopefully it's a good game. I mean, Michigan looks pretty tough, but Dan Hurley and that crew, he seems to always have a good game plan. But yeah, I don't know. Excited to watch. Hopefully, it's fun when those games get kind of down to the wire and, there are few possessions, big possessions at the end of the game are pretty fun. And it seems like we've had a few of them, the last handful of years that have been kind of nail biters. So hopefully something exciting.
Amen to that. Just give me a good game.
Give me a good game.
I'm all for it. Clearly, with this month and the madness involved, it is the busiest, craziest time of year on the basketball scene. But as a professional golfer on the PGA Tour, Zac, what would you say is your month of madness?
I mean, it kind of depends. Right now, it's pretty busy, obviously, especially on the PGA Tour. All those guys kind of trying to get that last spot in the Masters, and you're kind of squeezing an event in there that maybe you don't usually play. Um, and then towards the end of the year, kind of same thing, right before the playoffs, it gets gets a little hectic based on again kind of where you're at in the points. So golf's kind of weird. It's kind of full throttle all the time, basically, depending on like how you're doing, especially somebody that's not like top 50 in the world, or hasn't won, and doesn't have that 2-year exemption. You're kind of always battling to keep your job, basically.
It's so wild how it's like that, right? Like it's such a competitive sport. There's so many golfers out there, different tournaments, obviously different, tours that you can be on. Kind of like in baseball, the single A, double A, triple A, and then you get to the majors, right? It's got that similar vibe, obviously, in golf, and it's really hard to get to be in these majors. Obviously, you've played in a couple of them, which is incredible and amazing experience. We're going to talk about that, but how would you describe the state of your game right now for yourself? Like, how do you feel? What do you need to improve on, or what's something that's going really well for you? What's the state of your game right now?
Honestly, feel like I'm playing pretty good. I think last year, sometime in the fall, I kind of just said, hey, I'm not going to mess around with a bunch of stuff. I'm not going to tweak a bunch of things week to week. Like, this is what I got. I'm just going to stick with it, and we'll see what we got. And I had a pretty solid finish to the season last year. Kind of rolled over a little, had a couple nice starts this year, which has been fun.
Yeah.
So, wish I was on the PGA Tour this year, kind of a little more than I have been, because I do feel like I'm playing pretty well, but you never know. You get into some events in the summer and, catch a hot week, and, might change the year.
Yeah, for those that don't understand the PGA Tour card and getting exemptions and getting up to the top tour, what is it like, and what are the requirements on a year-to-year basis, Zac, for a player like yourself who does bounce back and forth at times?
So they changed it this year. It used to always be kind of top 125 on the money list or the points list, got full status for the next year. Plus the people that, had the 2-year exemption from winning, or were, ranked high enough in world rankings, were also kind of exempt. But this year they recently changed it to top 100. So it's kind of really shifted a lot of things with who's playing what, and, who gets into what. So it's really been a bit of a different year kind of for everybody, I guess, trying to feel it out and, see what the kind of status is going to shake out like. But I'm like, I finished 140th last year, I think, on the points. So I have what they consider conditional status. So I still get into a handful of events out on the big tour, but play a lot on the Corn Ferry Tour too. So it's a weird spot to be in. I've been in it, as you mentioned, a couple of times in my career, and it's certainly, not where you want to be, but, better than nothing.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it like I said, it's so competitive. It's so hard. And one thing that I'm fascinated by with golf is how mental of a game it is. And that's something that people just battle in this sport specifically. And obviously, I was a basketball player. You can go through slumps, shooting slumps and everything, but you can go through, a hole where you're playing amazing, and all of a sudden one hole, one putt, one chip, whatever it is, and all of a sudden you could just be like, man, like, you could get mental about it very, very easily. What do you do to make sure that you keep your state of mind in the right frame of mind going into that next shot? Because for me, I'm always a next shot mentality. My brother used to tell me, hey, you have to have short-term memory loss. Whatever happened in the last shot, you don't worry about. It is what it is. You go to the next one. How do you take advantage of that and mentally stay prepared?
Something I've probably battled, in my life.
We all have.
Probably not the best at it, but kind of like you said, you got to have. Honestly, I always kind of felt like I tried to deflect a lot of stuff. Like, when something bad happened, it wasn't always necessarily my fault, and not to make excuses, but just to kind of, like not have it just compound and
Right.
keep weighing on
Right.
you. But, I was always kind of like, hey man, if you're gonna get upset, kind of let it go and then kind of lock back in and see if you can do what you're supposed to on the next shot. But yeah, golf is so wild. Like you said, there's times and rounds and spots in rounds where you're like, I don't think I could ever hit a bad shot again. Like I figured it out, like, man,
Yep, I
I'm
got
putting
it.
so good or I'm driving it so well. Like I've really got it figured out. And it literally takes one swing and you feel like, man, I don't like, this feels so foreign to me. Like
Yeah.
holding the putter, I don't even know what this is like. Like it is pretty wild. And I think golf is, not as reactionary. So you also have so much more time than a lot of other
100%.
sports to think about all the negative stuff and all that could go wrong, instead of kind of just being like, well, in basketball, you're either going to make it or you're going to miss it. And in golf, it's like, it's not really, you're not hitting the ball or not hitting the ball. It's like, am I going to make a birdie or a triple or hit it in the water or hit a good shot? It's like, there's a lot of stuff that can go wrong. But that's why I think a lot of people like it. And, you kind of never can master it basically.
Zac Blair is on From the Logo. And to your credit, Zac, you mentioned it earlier. You feel like you're playing some good golf right now, and you are finding that flow state, as Jimmer has discussed, when he feels like he can't miss a shot and he's in the zone. So with that in mind, with you playing well, what is next for you in your pursuits or on your goal list, if you will?
I think just getting full status again, whether that's, finishing top 20 on the Korn Ferry point lists at the end of the year, or my status, I might get into some events over the summer on the PGA Tour. So if you go out and, have a good run at a few weeks, maybe you get it that way. So, it's always nice, especially when you've played out there for so long. Anytime you're not at that, the highest level, you're kind of like really itching to get back. So, just keep grinding and having fun.
Well, I should point out that I had a chance to watch you in a major in 2024 at Pinehurst at the U.S. Open, and it was incredible. Just the ambiance of the entire event, the tournament, how hot and humid it was, how dry the course was. It was wild, the conditions that you and the field were dealing with. But when you play in an event like that at the U.S. Open and you're in a major, does it feel different? And if so, how does it feel different to the other PGA Tour events you've played in?
Yeah, I mean, the majors are certainly a different animal, just basically magnify everything. The courses are usually better, they're usually harder, there's more people, there's kind of more on the line. The conditions, are usually a little more on the edge, like you're describing. It's not necessarily your kind of week in, week out PGA Tour setup where they're wanting to see a bunch of good stuff happen, especially at Pinehurst. It's kind of the opposite. They want to see some diabolical stuff go down. But that's honestly, I've played there twice in the US Open, and both times it was so awesome. And the conditions and just, playing the course, in that kind of environment with the, in the major is pretty sweet. But I think, there's kind of levels to it. You have your standard PGA Tour event that, you're going to have some people out there obviously watching. It's not a Korn Ferry event where you might not have anyone out there. And then you kind of have your bigger tournaments like the Waste Management or some of those events on the PGA Tour where those start to feel a little more kind of in that, whoa, this is a big deal. There's a lot of people out here kind of throughout the entire day. And then the majors are kind of, what everyone wants, right? When you're thinking, hey, I want to go play professional sports, like that's what you want. Just a ton of people out there kind of, watching you and seeing what's going on.
Yeah, that's exactly what you want as a competitor, right? You want to play in the biggest events. You want to play against the best players, the best golfers. You want to be in the show. And that comes with a lot of pressure. But that's a privilege to be able to have. And, as you talk about this, obviously we're on the cusp of the Masters coming up, this week. What does the Masters mean to a golfer in general, right? Like from a innocent bystander who's sitting over here and doesn't, play a ton of golf, but I still feel the magnitude of what the Masters is and what that week is. First of all, have you played Augusta before? And then also, what is this week like for golfers in general?
Yeah, I mean, I think the Masters is everyone, you could talk to 10 different golfers or professional golfers, and they might give you a different take on it. But I think everyone is at least going to put it in the argument for being the biggest golf tournament in the world. And it's at the same place every year, which I think carries kind of a lot of weight. And, you keep seeing the golf course, and Augusta National is kind of revered as, the best course in the world as well by a lot of people and a lot of like non-golfers too. You see someone wearing that logo and, they kind of know exactly what that is, where I don't think there's too many places, that kind of carry that significance or that kind of recognition. So, I mean, it's definitely, at least in the argument of, whether you're going to consider the US Open or the Masters or the, British Open or whatever, the biggest golf tournament, a lot of people would tell you they would want that green jacket over, any other one. You get to play it for the rest of your life, which is a pretty neat deal. But I've never played the Masters, but I have been lucky enough to play Augusta a handful of times. And, I always tell people it's the only place that every shot you hit, everywhere you go, every tee shot you hit, no matter where you are on the golf course at all times, you basically can instantly think of, oh, do you remember when so-and-so hit that shot?
Hit the shot. Yeah.
Made this shot? So the entire round,
Yeah.
You're kind of thinking about that chip Tiger made or that shot Phil hit or that, the shot Bubba hit on 10 or, just the entire round from 1 through 18. And, as mentioned, it's there every year, which, every major isn't at the same place and that one is. So that obviously helps it out a little bit, but it's pretty sweet. It's a really, really cool place.
Oh,
Spence,
fantastic.
One follow-up here, just real quick, since you've played it, because that's what I want to know. I know you've played. Is it as beautiful as it looks on TV? Because, I mean, when I see it on TV, I can't believe how beautiful it is. Like, green everywhere. It's perfectly cut grass. The bridges, the trees, all of it. Like, how pretty is it?
Yeah, I mean, it's literally just like that. It's perfect everywhere.
It's unbelievable.
And so is the experience, like the down to the staff and everything. It's not like over the top, they're behind the scenes taking care of everything. And
Right.
Same with the golf course, not a blade of grass out of place. And it's pretty sweet.
We're talking with Zac Blair on From the Logo with Jimmer Fredette, a PGA Tour player and a guy who has known major championship golf and played in it, been around it. When you look at the field, and you're friends with a lot of these guys, Zac, right now, who do you feel like is the favorite to win the green jacket in 2026?
It's certainly a place you kind of hear him talk about it all the time, that kind of experience and that goes a long way. So, your guys like Rory obviously got it done last year and has been in the hunt there a bunch. Like he's going to play well. Scotty Scheffler, been on a historic run the last handful of years, won the Masters a couple of times. I'm sure he's going to figure it out and kind of be right there. And, a lot of people are talking about Jon Rahm and how he's been playing really solid, obviously kind of on live now instead of the PGA Tour, so I don't think you get to see him quite as often, but he's one of the best in the world, obviously. So I think those are kind of three names that obviously anyone would kind of throw out there, but Robert McIntyre has been playing pretty good, lefty. It's kind of like notoriously sets up well for lefties just based on, a handful of the holes that they can kind of hit a fade instead of, a right-hander hitting a draw. So I think he's somebody that has played very well in big events the last, handful of years. And then, hopefully Bryson kind of gets in the mix. It's always fun. That was a really cool, it was a really cool final round last year with Rory and him kind of going head to head for a little bit, and then kind of both of them screwing up a little bit and then kind of getting back in it. So he's played well in majors, and he's one of the best in the world too. So those are those are pretty easy top dog picks. But the Robert McIntyre one is somebody that he could be a nice little dark horse for some people.
Totally, and he's played some really good golf in majors too, and he's a competitive guy. It seems like he's super competitive.
Yeah.
He wants to win one of these things. When you watch him, his mannerisms, all the things. I do have a quick question about Live versus PGA too. How is that? Like, have you become in contact with people obviously on both tours? What has that dynamic been like? Because that's really fascinating to me as well, having those two tours and kind of the push and pull that's been coming from it.
It's certainly died down in the last, year or so. John Rahm, I don't know. I think maybe it was 2 years ago that he went, I guess. But, he was kind of the last really big kind of shake things up. Hey, he's going over there. And, I kind of thought there would be a few more that would, the dominoes would fall, and it would be like, hey, this is getting a little dicey, I guess, for the PGA Tour, but they've certainly weathered the storm pretty well. And the Live stuff, I think it's kind of just like it didn't really turn out like I thought it would. Like I thought there was probably an opportunity for them to kind of shake things up and change some stuff. And the PGA Tour really just kind of, took all of that and changed a bunch of stuff too, that I think a lot of the players were kind of like, I'll stick it out here and stay. So it will be interesting, because I think eventually they'll have to figure out kind of a solution. Cause that's what everyone wants, right? They want the best players in the world playing together again. And it certainly has kind of divided things up. And for those first few years, it was pretty weird, right? And now you got Brooks back. He was kind of the first, he was the first person to kind of say, hey, I'm going to go back to the PGA Tour. And honestly, I thought that would also kind of have some dominoes fall after that, and it really hasn't. So it's kind of a weird spot, but I'm sure they'll figure it out eventually, and that'll be better for golf.
Zach, most people will associate your name and image obviously as a player, but I know that within the golf world, there are a number of people that know that you are also a designer and a guy who's an entrepreneur, and you started the Tree Farm. So for those that don't know about the Tree Farm, where it is, what it's about, what's happening in your developmental side of golf course design and your vision to have your own growing resort as you move into the future.
Yeah, so I was super fortunate to have a bunch of people kind of believe in this dream that I had of building the place. And I tried to do it in Utah for a while, and unfortunately just never could get it to work. Hopefully we can get it going eventually. But found a cool piece of property in just outside of Aiken, South Carolina, which is only 30 minutes, from Augusta. So it's a big week for our club out there for sure. It's crazy busy. But yeah, had a cool group of people kind of jump on board with me there. And, we built a pretty sweet place, kind of right down the road from Augusta.
Where did the idea begin? Like when did that first come to fruition, where it was like, okay, this is an idea, it actually has some momentum, and now you're building the thing?
Yeah. I mean, my dad, kind of owned and operated and built golf courses, and not on the same kind of scale, but I kind of grew up watching him design golf and build golf and manage golf, and just grew up around a golf course, on the golf course. So it was just something kind of always in me, I guess, that I thought was cool. And the more really special and great places that I saw, whether it was in college or, when I turned professional, it was kind of like, man, this would be pretty cool to, do this and have one of these, where I belonged or was a part of. And yeah, I mean, it was cool. We bought the property on my birthday in 2020 and got everything kind of permitted and ready to roll, and started building it the next year. And I think this is our third or fourth year kind of being open and golfable. And yeah, it's sweet, man. It's awesome.
And that is not easy to do, right? You're running a business as you're competing in a pro athlete, right? Like you're on the road, you're traveling, you do all that stuff, you're managing a golf course and all that's going on. So what's the key, to managing a career as a pro athlete and also essentially basically running your own business with a partner? Like, how do you balance that?
For me, I mean, we had a really, really good group of people, and our general manager Eric Dietz, he does everything. I don't have to kind of deal with any of the stuff. He's got that place kind of.
Delegate.
Yeah, exactly. So we had a great staff, a great group of people that kind of understood the vision and what we were trying to do, and they have to do all the hard stuff. So I'm super thankful for all those people. But yeah, I mean, you got to find people that are, I guess, smarter than you, that believe in the same thing and want to be a part of it. So we found a bunch of those people, and it's been great. And honestly, the whole timeline of when everything was happening, I was having shoulder surgery, so I wasn't playing like that season. So that did give me this kind of once in a lifetime opportunity where it was like, hey,
Right.
I'm not really like taking my time away from professional golf as much as, I'm trying to find something to do for, this 12 or 18 months while I can't, swing a golf club, where that's something that I did every single day my entire life, for 20 plus years or 30 years. And then all of a sudden it's like, hey, you can't even touch a club or swing a club. What are you going to do? And, I kind of went to the next best thing, which was maybe I could help design some cool golf and, be around it enough.
All right, Zach, incredible insight into you designing a course and like what's happening in that project now. What other plans do you have in place in the future? Like, will you stop at one course, or does your vision include multiple courses as you push through your golf life?
I mean, I would like to do something in Utah eventually. There's definitely the appetite for golf. People love golf around here. So yeah, definitely want to do something here, and who knows? I mean, it was something that I was super pumped to do when we did the tree farm.
Yeah.
But I, I'm not looking to kind of start a career and, make it what I do. I still like competing and everything like that, and golfing a lot more than I like doing that, but it was fun.
I actually live on a golf course out here in Denver, and the architect and the guy that helped build the golf course was a guy you probably know. His name's Billy Casper, right? Well, legendary golfer. The guy, he went to BYU. It's been in a ton of majors, like incredible. And I was able to talk with him about it, and he just, was incredible. His wife was a huge fan. It was fun. We got to experience it. But like just building a golf course in general, and trying to architect that, like, are there things that you're thinking about that we have no idea about? Like, how hard is it to actually, build a golf course or architect it, like to make it so that it fits together and it works?
I think, you could go a lot of different directions with that. We were lucky at the tree farm. The piece of property was really, really cool. So, there wasn't a ton of big earth moving and stuff we were having to,
Right.
imagine and figure out what to do. It was kind of like, hey, here's the routing, and this is what you do. It's pretty obvious to some degree once you've kind of figured that out. But there is a ton that goes into even that aspect, and you really only get one chance on the routing side of it, and
Yeah.
you can't really start over, especially when you're kind of taking down like huge pine trees, or we were kind of in a forest. So it was there is a lot that goes onto it, even just like the civil engineering side of it, and where the water's going and stuff like that. That was all the stuff that was pretty fascinating to me, and I definitely learned a lot throughout the whole process. and yeah, there's definitely a lot that goes on that people kind of don't even understand or would never even understand unless they were actually kind of there watching it, or you showed them some plans that had all the stuff on it. But it's pretty cool.
Were you in a bad mood when you designed the hardest hole? And what is the hardest hole?
There's a couple hard ones. The course in general is really fun, pretty generous off the tee, not a ton of trouble. But there are a few holes, like the fourth hole is a pretty long par 4 up the hill, or par 3 up the hill. That's kind of modeled after this hole at Pine Valley that is also a bit of a bear, but that one's pretty tough, but it's one of my favorite holes. And when we were kind of figuring out the routing and what we were going to do, that was something that Tom Doak had kind of pointed out. You could do your own spin on that hole here, and it would work pretty well. So I was like, yeah, let's give it a shot.
Okay, so if you can't tell, Zac is balancing a number of things here. Like, you're a man of, you're the Renaissance man, if you will. And I'd like to recall to memory a time I was at Disneyland a few years back, and it was probably 11:57 p.m. at night, and I happened to run into you in the candy store at the front of the park in one of those main emporiums, and you're pushing your kids around like a champ. I mean, I think both of them were asleep at the time. But you're also a Disneyland dad, Zac. Like, you're balancing family and kids and a wife as well. So what's the secret to success with managing a family, and a growing family at that, while you play golf and do all these other ventures?
I mean, shout out my wife, like she does everything. I feel terrible. Like, sometimes I'm on the road for a couple weeks at a time, and she's stuck at home with the 3 kids. So, I mean, she's the best, and, she kind of is the main reason that I get to do anything that I get to do, on the golf side, whether it's building the tree farm or playing professional golf. Wouldn't be able to do it without her. So again, back to finding somebody that's better at stuff and smarter than you, but she's she's great for putting up with me. But I'm actually taking the boys to Disneyland tomorrow.
Let's go.
Wow.
Yeah. So, get the boys out of her hair for a couple of days, which hopefully helps.
What's harder, your hardest hole at the Dream Farm, or bring your kids to Disney? I mean, what do we got here?
We'll see. Rain check on that question. We'll see.
Yeah, there you go. It's the first one.
I know. I don't think I've ever taken them solo on a plane ride anywhere, and then let alone be with them in the park for a few days. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
Hopefully we make it out in one piece.
hopefully you win. Hopefully you birdie that hole right there, man. I feel I've been there, done it a few times, and it's a great experience. It's so much fun, but it is, you never know what can go down. Let's just put it that way. So
yeah, exactly.
We are big on this podcast about talking about sports and faith and how they kind of interact. How has faith played a role in your professional golf life?
I think, just I grew up, my parents were, my mom specifically, and she was super big into the church, and so I grew up in kind of that household kind of my whole life. And I think it just, for me, it was always just seemingly being around great people that wanted to help and, see you kind of do your best. And, that's how my family always was, and my mom and my dad. And, it was really cool going down to BYU and just seeing kind of the same thing. Coach Brockbank and Todd were, the best. They were so influential. And I think my golf life and my life in general, and they obviously super big into faith and everything that it kind of plays. So yeah, I mean, it's a big part of kind of everything we do. And, it's really cool to see all of that kind of intertwine.
Love that perspective. And we also like to explore the hardest lessons that our guests have ever learned as a professional. So let's go right to that question. What do you feel like is the biggest reality check or hardest lesson you've learned upon entering your professional career after you left your very successful collegiate career at BYU?
I've finished 126 a couple of times on the PGA Tour. Kind of 1 point away. And, when you think of that, where it basically comes down to one shot from anyone,
Gosh,
in the
It's
entire
crazy.
year, you just really got to understand how every shot counts, and, you kind of can never give up, and you always got to kind of you know, be present and trying to do your best. And, everyone is, but you always kind of get in that kind of mopey, oh, this doesn't matter. But you never know when you can kind of catch a little hot streak or something and make a cut and get a couple of points. And, so to finish 126 twice, that's never great. But again, I get to play golf for a living, so it's not the end of the world. Still have a great life.
100%, yes. And we'll have one more question here before we go to our quick hitters, and we're gonna call this our built question of the episode, which we always do, which we're super excited about. What is a moment, or maybe it's a moments that have changed your life and your trajectory of maybe your golf career or your life in general? What's a moment that has changed your life?
I mean, I qualified for the US Open in 2014. And, when I played that US Open, I really did feel like that was kind of like, hey, like, you're good enough to do this. I always believed I was and always thought I could, but then to go out there and kind of make the cut, my first year playing professional golf, I was kind of bouncing between the Korn Ferry Tour and the PGA Tour Latin America at the time. And to go out kind of at the highest level and, be somewhat competitive. I wasn't going to win the thing, but, made the cut and, got to play 4 days at Pinehurst. I think that was kind of like, hey, you could do this.
Yeah, absolutely.
A breakthrough moment, no doubt about it. I remember doing an interview with you, Zach. This is probably, gosh, can't even remember how many years ago, 7 or 8 years ago, when you got paired in a group with Tiger Woods. And you beat him, Zach. You beat him. I know that he was coming back from certain situations in his life and professional career where he was kind of dealing with some struggles and difficulties. But what was that moment like for you, being paired with him for the first time, and then you beat the GOAT of golf?
So Tiger is like my favorite athlete of all time, being a golfer. Grew up kind of idolizing him as a golfer. So it was at the memorial on Saturday. So we had made the cut kind of on the number, and I was kind of like scrolling the leaderboard, and it was like, oh, if so and so, birdies or bogeys, like we might get to play with Tiger if he makes the cut. And so that was really cool, obviously being a massive fan, getting to play with him, and he was honestly so awesome. I was kind of a, first year, second year, maybe, PGA Tour player. He's obviously one of the best ever, if not the best ever. I didn't expect anything out of him the entire day. And he was so awesome to me, which was so cool and made me an even bigger fan. And I always tell people how awesome he was. And I did beat him. He had a tough day. I think I beat him by 15. I think he shot 85. I shot 70.
Wow.
I think it's the most anyone's ever beat him by playing with him, which is a nice trivia question.
He's got the record.
And he was even playing, he kind of had a couple of bad holes. Like he had a triple on 9 and then, a couple bad holes coming in, and he was still great, which was really cool to see. I kind of felt like, hey, this guy could ship it in after 9 and withdraw, like you mentioned, he's kind of going through a lot of things, at that stage of his life. I wouldn't have kind of wouldn't have even blinked because I was like, hey man, I get it. But he battled it out, and I remember I was like 4 or 5 under going into 15, and I was like, man, I could beat him by a lot if I finish pretty good here. But we both kind of stumbled a little bit coming in, but he was great. It was one of the coolest rounds. Obviously, anytime you're playing with somebody that's the best ever is pretty neat.
Yeah, what a cool story. And you may have answered this question with Tiger, but I do have to ask, who's the toughest competitor? Not necessarily the best player, but toughest competitor that you've ever been paired with?
I don't even know if it would be a PGA Tour player. I play with a few guys at Riverside that are, they don't like to lose.
We know how that goes. Oh, gosh.
No, honestly, I don't think I could really single anybody out and kind of pinpoint one. I think everybody kind of has, the drive, and they always want to do the best they can. So I don't really have anyone specifically where I'm like, man, it was like, you could just tell how competitive that guy was. But I mean, Tiger, shooting 85 and kind of gritting it out, like that, when it would have been pretty easy to walk in after 9, like, he's got to be right there.
Outstanding. Let's continue our quick hitters with Zac Blair and go to maybe, and this is an impossible question probably because you've hit so many unbelievable shots in your career. I'm remembering one during a practice round with a putter from over 100 yards away that you sank. So I don't know if that'll be it, but what's the most memorable golf shot you've hit in either your college or professional career?
I hit a 3-wood in on 18 at the Sony Open, my, first or second year on tour. That was, always, memorable. I think anytime you kind of have the visualization of the shot you're trying to hit and it just matches it exactly to a T with what you were thinking and gets the right bounce, and the result is also as good as you were hoping. Those are always the best ones. I kind of have a bucket, I would say, of like, that's a top 5 shot. It doesn't have to be 5 shots, but it's in that category of like, there could be 100 top 5 shots, but it at least gets in that bucket of like, okay, that was a special one.
Love that. And you're so understated, Zach. Like, I want you to have a hype crew out there. Like, I kind of want this Happy Gilmore crowd to follow people around to like hoop it up when you hit a great shot, because it's incredible to watch what you guys do, man.
Oh, it's absolutely incredible. And, I what are your thoughts on, just real quick, this is out of nowhere, this is in our notes or anything. What are your thoughts on Happy Gilmore? Okay. Like, it's one of my favorite movies of all time. Okay. I love the stupid show. It is incredible. I like golfers everywhere have to love that show. No?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Okay, good.
It's for sure. I couldn't imagine, talking to a actual golfer that doesn't at least like appreciate that because of how wild and crazy it is, but at the same time kind of hits like in some good spots. So yeah, Adam Sandler's great.
Oh, he's the best.
All right. Ugh. We're going to wrap up here in a second, but I know you're a collector of golf antiquities, and that includes shoes and putters and other things. So what's the most prized putter you currently have in your collection, and maybe the most distinguished pair of golf shoes that you have as well, Zach?
I have this Scotty Cameron putter that I actually like drew this putter and gave him like the sketch at the Sony Open one year, actually. And then like a few weeks later, it was like the tournament at Torrey Pines, and they brought me over this, putter with a head cover on it, and they were like, here, Scotty made you this. And,
wow.
And it was the putter that I sketched, for him. And he actually still like keeps the sketch at the studio, which is pretty cool. It's like over, in the corner kind of by the monitors where they're doing all the fittings, which is pretty neat. So, that's kind of like my, prized possession in the putter space. It's a pretty cool one. And then I don't know, I big fan of just like classic FootJoys. Every once in a while I'll sneak on eBay and go buy an old pair that that I like. But yeah, they're actually coming out with some new ones in the last handful of years that kind of have that old school look to them, which is pretty cool. But yeah, I've got a few good ones on the shoe side.
Zach, you've been so gracious with your time, brother. We appreciate it. And we're so excited to continue to watch your career flourish and develop. And full clarity, we expect to see you playing at Augusta and the Masters at some point. You're just too good to not to. Like, it's going to happen. So we're going to help speak it into existence here.
Yes, we are.
But we're huge fans of yours. And like I said, can't wait to watch what happens next for you. Just do me one favor. At some point, if you hit a long range putt, will you at least under your breath say, Jimmer, when that goes in?
I like it.
You got to. We got to get that. That's great. Thanks, Spence.
Got it. Zach, thanks for the time, brother. Be well, and we'll talk again soon.
Yeah, thank you, guys.
Thanks, Zach.
Awesome stuff with Zac Blair. We hope he has a great time at Disneyland with his kids. And I'm telling you, we're going to see him in the Masters at some point. But let's call a timeout. When we return, Jimmer and I open up the mailbag of listener questions and comments in Open Gym, including Jimmer getting called out by one of his beloved teammates for not being dialed into his homework. We are built from the logo, and the show rolls on after this.
Like when Grandma was baking cookies, and she'd let you lick the batter. It feels like a fluffy hug. Cookie dough.
What the puff? This thing has 15 grams of protein.
Grandma loved protein.
So, this is your stop.
Fluffy, chocolatey, and packed with protein. What the puff? Built Puff.
From the logo with Jimmer Fredette rolls on, and we now open up things to our listeners and viewers with your submitted questions and snarky commentary in some cases from social media straight to us. Jimmer, it's time for me to get fully nourished because...
What do you got there today? What do you got there today?
It's going to take a little extra heat here, okay?
Yeah.
Banana cream pie, Built Puff is the flavor of the day.
That's your favorite.
It's so good, dude. You need to get in on this action.
I know.
Right?
I need to get there's a bunch of them I gotta try. There's a new sour one that's out that I've heard is phenomenal. I'm excited about it. I gotta try it out.
Let's go.
My kids will like that one.
All right. While I enjoy this delicious Built Puff,
I'll do the first one.
Why don't you start us off, bro?
Yeah, I'll do the first one. So this first comment comes in from Stephen Shirley on X. It's at SDShirley22, and he's talking about a clip that we posted with AJ and Danny Ainge and how AJ has eclipsed his records. So he said, I'll never forget the Hawaii game, talking about Danny Ainge's game, where they kept holding the ball for the first long periods of time. We were listening on the radio at the restaurant. Poor Paul James kept having to find things to say. Loved the Danny Ainge years.
No shot clock.
No shot clock, right? So, and Danny talks about this during his thing. He's like, we have no shot clock. So because of it, these teams would hold the ball against them. And Hawaii was holding the ball against them as long as they possibly could in the half. And then he said it ended up being, he said he had some games that ended up in the 30s and the 40s when he played. And he's like, that was probably the biggest hindrance. Obviously there was the 3-point line too, where he probably would have had a lot more points with the 3-point line, but holding the ball and not getting a chance to actually go and score, brutal. That is absolutely brutal. And I said this on X too. We need to get a shot clock for everyone in high school basketball now.
Yes.
Not everyone has it still. Colorado still doesn't have it. They're going to have it here pretty soon, but there's a lot of states that don't. And I'm like, it is such a bad brand of basketball when a coach comes out and is like, hey, we're going to hold the ball the whole game. It is awful. Absolutely. There's no development in that. No development. They got to learn how to play at the next level. So, I feel for Danny Ainge on that one. And, that Hawaii game must have been absolutely brutal. I wasn't allowed to watch it, but I can imagine how it was.
Jimmer, how many times did you score 40 or more by yourself at BYU? Okay.
Quite a few. Quite a few times. I don't know that exact number, Spence, but, it was a fair amount.
Danny's team
Fair amount.
the whole team was barely getting to 40 because of no shot clock. That is painful.
It's painful. And he averaged over 20 points a game for his career still. I don't know
what
how
would he have
scored.
What would he have scored total points if he had a shot clock in the 3-point line?
He would have scored more.
Oh my goodness.
It's pretty incredible. Same with Pete Maravich. I mean, that is
wild. Yeah, great point.
We'll talk about
Pete
that
Maravich,
later.
Dude.
We'll talk about that later.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely insane.
All right. Up next is our built comment of the week, and it comes in from your good buddy Canyon Barry on Instagram.
Unreal.
And I quote, one of your 3x3 teammates from the Olympics says, "So Whitney Fredette was stuck doing a lot of accounting homework." And this is in reference to your lack of accounting ability and the right, maybe, or the prowess to do your own taxes, and you need someone like Jack Golke to step in. So when you got a C in accounting at BYU, was that actually Whitney Fredette salvaging you a C in that class?
Listen, Whitney Fredette did nothing for me in school. Nothing. Not one thing. Zero. And I tried so hard to get her to do as much as I possibly could, and she would not do any of it. She was not a good tutor. She was not someone who was trying to do my homework for her or for me. And it was very upsetting. I will say that. The reason why I did get a C in the class is because I did it myself, right? Like, I tried to do it. I was very average at accounting. Like, let's just put it that way. I told you this. I took it twice. I got a C both times. And I said, this is not for me. Okay. This is absolutely not for me. I cannot be an accountant. I was trying to do business school. That was one of the prerequisites. I did it. Didn't work out, Spence. Okay. Moved to American studies. I learned all about American history and political science and all of those different things. And now I am an absolute veteran in that aspect of my life. But Canyon, all right, Mr. Know-It-All, listen, bro, I know all about you. Okay? I got all the secrets. I got a microphone here in front of me. You come back to me one of these days. You never know what's going to be said about you next time on From the Logo. All right? That's what I have to say to you, Canyon Barry.
Canyon poke the Jimmer Bear. I love it, dude.
I love that guy.
That is fantastic. C's get degrees, Jimmer. I know
100%. I
everyone's
graduated.
heard it a million times. C's get degrees, brother.
I graduated, okay? I graduated. That's what matters.
Yeah, exactly right. And I'm not going to act like I didn't get a few C's at BYU either. BYU's hard, man. It's hard. It's a difficult school.
It's a lot harder than people realize, man. Ugh.
Shout out to my advanced level Korean instructor who hated me and thankfully gave me, I think, a C+. That's
because you were trying to correct his grammar all the time.
Well, actually, look at the Korean grammar dictionary. Yeah, that's funny. Well played, Jimmer. Well played. And leads us right into our grammar pet peeve of the week, which is very short and sweet today. How many times, Jimmer, have you heard somebody say the word anyways with an S?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
It happens
I've been a culprit.
every day.
I've been a culprit, for sure.
Anyways, at least according to standard formal English, is not a word. Not a word. It is just anyway with no S. Okay, let me read you the following description and then we'll be done. Anyway, no S, is considered the standard grammatically correct form in both formal and informal English. It means regardless or in any case. While anyways, makes me sick even saying it, is widely used in casual colloquial speech, it is often viewed as non-standard or informal and is best avoided in formal writing. Anyway, Jimmer, anyways is not a word, and that is your grammar pet peeve of the week.
I like it. I actually didn't even know that. I mean, I just figured that, people say that, and it's just, I didn't know it wasn't specifically a word. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't realize that. So thank you for educating me.
Yeah. I can't wait for the revised dictionary. People say, well, it's used so much that it's become accepted. No.
Not at this point.
No.
Not at this point.
We're building great speakers of the English language, my friends. If you'd like to submit questions or grammar pet peeves or anything you want to talk about to me, Jimmer, or guests on the next show, follow us on all of our social media platforms at JimmerFTL on YouTube, Instagram, X, and TikTok. 3x3 updates next, brother. You ready to bring it?
Always.
When From the Logo with Jimmer Fredette continues, powered by Built.
The saying goes, you shouldn't cry over spilled milk. But what if the milk you spilled is spilt milk? Your favorite treat ruined by your clumsiness. And now those 20 delicious grams of day-powering protein and that perfect boost of caffeine are everywhere but where they should be. Your mouth. So cry over your spilt, turn on your sad sprinklers, then stand tall and buy a fresh spilt at a retailer near you. Spilt. Milk worth crying over.
From the Logo into the final quarter with our USA Basketball 3x3 update presented by our friends at Wilner and O'Reilly. Simple. Just call Kelly at Wilner and O'Reilly, an immigration law expert and friend of the show, WilnerO'Reilly.com. GM Jimmer's got the latest on the drive to gold in 2028 for his 3x3 teams across the globe. Jimmer, where does the conversation lead us today?
The Final Four leads us to the Final Four. We had a 3x3 basketball tournament out there with 4 USA-based teams. 2 of them are ours, Miami and Phoenix.
Did you want to play?
Did
you want to play for a second?
You always want to play, right? But I saw them warming up, and I was like, no, I don't want to do that. After the third warm-up of the day where you're walking around like, I'm sore everywhere. I'm trying to get warmed up. I was like, yeah, I'm good. I'm good on that one. But yes, Miami, Phoenix. And then we invited in 2 teams from US that are independent teams, Team LA and then Team Harlem, who has been playing for years on the 3x3 tour. We had a little Light Quest tournament is what it's called. So it's one of the lower tournaments that you can put on for FIBA to be able to get you a bid into a challenger level event, which is that second highest event. So the winner of this event was able to go to that challenger, which is in Xi'an, China.
Ooh, okay.
So it was an actual tournament with stakes.
I didn't know that.
100%. Yeah, we absolutely did that on purpose to make sure, we had a good opportunity for guys to play and compete. And this was the first time Team Phoenix had been together. Team Miami has been playing together for a while. And Team Miami ended up winning it. They beat Team Phoenix in the final. So both of our USA teams played really well. And we don't have the full Team Phoenix roster yet. Some of them are coming back from 5-on-5 this week and within the next couple of weeks, which will be awesome. And everyone moves to Phoenix this week. And it is official. This is the first time that we are having 3x3 basketball for USA full-time in-person training at all times. And it's happening this week after the Final Four. So it was a great weekend. It was at FanFest. There was a ton of people there watching. It was a really great crowd. Indianapolis showed out. They had big stands that people were watching. There was people around all the court. We had an MC, music playing. It was a blast. People that went there loved it, and they came back both days to watch. And it was a really successful event, and it's a great way to kick off the actual season. And now we are into it, Spence. We are into the season again, and it is time. They have a couple of week training camp before they get ready for Utsunomiya, Team Miami. Team Phoenix's first game tournament is going to be in Manila, Philippines. Ooh. And we're excited for what's going on. So here we go.
World travels continue. I may need to join you at the 3x3 event at next year's Final Four. I may need to make that happen.
100%. Absolutely. Yeah. We might bring in a few other international teams next year. We'll see how that goes, but that's a fun time. So I don't know where the Final Four is next year, but wherever it is, you got an open invite, except you just got to pay for a ticket. But other than that, you got an open invite.
We may need to do a remote From the Logo podcast
we should absolutely do it. We can get some guys on. It'll be great. 100%.
Okay. We're brainstorming a little bit. Hey, awesome update. Great stuff, and excited for what the teams are going to do in Phoenix. Final thought from you in the last 30 seconds.
No, thanks, Zach, for coming on. Appreciate you. I want to give a shout out to Hema and Brett as well, our producers and social media team. Like, you guys are just continuing to crush it. They put on just awesome YouTube videos and social media, and the editing is just awesome. So appreciate you guys, and thank you everyone for listening and subscribing. It's growing, man. That last episode with Jack, over 10,000 views on YouTube, and it's just growing and growing. It's awesome.
Well said. We love all of you. We appreciate the engagement. Jimmer and I are having a blast doing this, if you can't tell. As a reminder, we are built for more. And anyway, a reminder to shoot your shot in life. We'll see you next time. Go Masters Week.
Let's go.